So, Freaky. Freaky is an American horror comedy that came out in the US October time last year, because Halloween, and now finally crosses the pond this weekend, early July, because it does. So it does. The film centres around a 17-year-old social outcast called Millie Kessler, played by up-and-comer Catherine Newton, who has two friends, Celeste O'Connor and Misha Osharovich, both very enjoyable here, and they have one mission in life: surviving high school, socially, academically, and as it turns out, literally. That's because there is a local serial killer. Just rewind back to Fear Street and you'll see plenty of parallels, who goes by the name of the Blissfield Butcher, an on-form Vince Vaughn here, who is out for blood. But, and this is a very big but, due to a magical ancient dagger accident, you know how it goes, ends up swapping bodies with Millie, Freaky Friday style, hence the name Freaky. Get it? Great. Our hero, now in the body of a hulking, smelly, her words, 6'5" deranged murderer, now has 24 hours to convince her friends who she really is, without freaking them out too much, and reverse the curse, or the wind will change direction, and she'll look like him off Wedding Crashers forever, which could make flirting with her high school crush, well, interesting. Here's a clip.
How weird is it that I kind of feel like kissing you right now?
Technically, you'd be kissing a mass murderer with yellow teeth.
You're still Millie to me.
Maybe we should wait for when my hand's not bigger than your whole face.
Okay. It's whenever you want. I'm not going anywhere.
Right, so I think the music there and some of the lines of dialogue indicate the sort of tone we're about to enjoy here. But before you're tempted to hop to Wikipedia, as well you might, a reminder that the original Freaky Friday is a 1972 children's book written by Mary Rogers, and amazingly, it's been adapted into, can you guess, Robbie, four different films over the years. In 1976, we had the original Barbara Harris and Jodie Foster. Then in 1995, for a TV movie. In 2003, we had Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan. And in 2018, and I didn't know this until I looked it up, a musical version also for TV. And now we have this, a horror reinterpretation, which forgets the whole mother-daughter thing and goes in a different direction. Straight up, Robbie, I really hope you disagree with me because it would make the conversation so much more fun. I had a great time with Freaky, and I like to think you will too. You will need a strong stomach for some of the on-screen gore, but it's not too bad, because even with this light tone and the music and the assorted jokes et al., and it is a horror comedy, there's plenty of comedy here, many people do die bloodily in a variety of gruesome ways, and straight out the gate too. Scream style, as the opening scene does not muck about. If you enjoyed similar high concept horror Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day 2U, also directed by our director here, Christopher Landon, you will have a good sense of what to expect. It is a bit more, up, but he also happens to be the writer behind Paranormal Activity 2, 3, and 4. He also gave us the less successful Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse in 2015, but here I think he does strike, to my tastes, that good balance between laughs and screams here with Freaky. Ultimately, it is ridiculous and it also knows it. It pokes fun at all your favourite slasher tropes and then delivers on them too, kind of has its cake and eats it too nicely. I just found it thoroughly enjoyable, the sight of Vince Vaughn trying to convince two teenagers that he's really a high schooler by reenacting their elaborate dance, handshake, song is a standout delight. And humour and horror don't always combine perfectly. I think if you wanted to do it, you could go, there are comedy horrors and horror comedies, Shaun of the Dead's and the like. I'm not saying all of the comic set pieces work well here, but for the most part, they do actually lift each other up. I think that Vince Vaughn hasn't been this much fun on the big screen for the longest time, and is obviously having a ball here, throwing everything at the screen, as is Catherine Newton going for Michelle Myers' Murder Barbie. Look out for her, by the way, Catherine Newton, if you aren't already If she isn't already on your radar, make sure she is. Remember that name. She was so good in the underappreciated sex comedy Blockers a few years ago. Then there's Big Little Lies, Supernatural, Halt and Catch Fire, Three Billboards, Detective Pikachu even, and she's soon to appear in the upcoming Ant-Man 3, second reference to that franchise so far today. So expect her career to go places and quick. It does have its fair share of clumsy moments, and there is a sense that it's not quite living up to its core conceit, to its potential, both in the fear factor and in the fun. It does run out of steam a bit towards the end, but for the most part, I was really enjoying myself with Freaky, and again, I think you will too. Robbie, disagree with me, I dare you.
Yeah, you wanted me to disagree. I am going to disagree.
Yes.
In a way that I would not expect to disagree before having seen the film, which is I think I enjoyed it even more than you did.
Robbie, the twist!
To my astonishment,
the twist!
I was an enormous fan of this film. I think it really does actually capitalise on the premise. I think one of the incredibly smart things the script does is it finds every possible horrible situation that Switch could generate and exhausts them. I mean, it plays every single one of them out for maximum squirm in your seat comedy and also maximum squirm in your seat yuckiness.
Yes.
I was really impressed by this. I think Vince Vaughn agreed that it's the most fun he's been on screen in a long time. I think what the film does that very few films do is it capitalizes on the guy's bulk. I mean, he is a large guy, 6'5", as you mentioned. Brawl in Cell Block 99, which is by no means a film to watch if you enjoy this one or vice versa. Brawl in Cell Block 99 is an incredibly grueling experience, but something that really got right with Vaughn is his physical presence as an actor. He is a hefty old gentleman, and he brings a sort of a power and threat to a scene even when he doesn't intend to, that is incredibly well utilized here. So when he's playing, when he's playing a teenage girl, he is just uproariously funny at this.
He's so cute.
He's cute, he's kind of mincing, but he doesn't overplay it. Absurd as the conceit is, he actually still kind of grounds it in some semblance of realism. You also mentioned the other teens, who are enormously objectionable people. They are, unlike the Fear Street kids, they are horrible, they are petty, they are snide, but they're still fun. I mean, we're not friends with them. It doesn't matter whether we like them or not. They're fun to spend time with as characters. Now, and I think that really gets to the heart of this. Also, I would say the film was shot by Laurie Rose, the cinematographer who's often worked with Ben Wheatley. He captures the sense of the kind of mid-90s subversive horror comedy that Fear Street just completely fumbles. And yet this film is set in the present, but it invokes those films much, much more successfully. The big surprise for me was this. Okay, so horror can be a kind of a naturally queer genre. And by queer, I mean it's kind of subversive treatment of bodies and gender roles and attraction and all of this stuff. It can do these playful things that kind of unsettle and provoke and make you question and engage in a really exciting way. It can also be a flagrantly un-PC genre, right? With kind of outrageous, base humor that kind of goes for the gut. Now, there's a scene in this where they're referring to the butcher, the serial killer in the car, who is in female form at the time, and one of the friends misgenders him. She says, "What are we going to do about her?" And someone else snaps, "Pronouns." It's so kind of keyed into that worldview, and it's prepared to have fun with it and to subvert it in these clever ways. It walks this line between the queerness and the non-PC, the horror extremes, so delicately and carefully. I will say I was happily taken aback by this one.
Oh,
I would pretty much recommend it without qualification, providing you're able to stomach the gore, which is fairly robust and imaginative as well. There are things done with necks in this film that I don't think I've seen done with necks before.
Ultimately, I want, like in a Bond film, like in a Bourne film, I want people to pick up an unusual object and then hit somebody else with it. That is a key part of my movie-going cinematic psyche. When I watch a horror slasher like this, I want to see inventive deaths. And it both gives you, oh, it's that death. I know what that one is. I know what they're going to do. Here it comes. As well as going, here's a little twist on that, and here's something entirely new and bonkers. And I really did have a great time with this movie. I think when you remember that Vince Vaughn played Norman Bates, and then you watch this film, it just makes it all the more fun, all the more enjoyable that he's going, guys, I've got the kitchen sink, I've got a bag full of ham. Here is everything. I'm going to mince, I'm going to be provocative, I'm going to be absurd, I'm going to have a very good time. I know, I'm so glad you liked it. Freaky, again, its name is Freaky, and it's in cinemas right about now.